Um, Another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, because it's something that I, became interested in, and you've kind of experienced a revival of it. Going back to our days in West Dallas, you had in that little basement, you had your little
Had a
setup
little
in the
bench.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, we were able to make our own stained glass shop. So talk a little bit about how that hobby kind of developed, some things you've made, and kind of, yeah, go from there, I guess.
Yeah. The when we lived in West Dallas, Ben, there was the neighbor across the alley. Greg had done a bunch of glass repair and stuff. He owned his own window shop, and he was doing some lead glass and or leaded glass, and kind of I wanted to see what it would take to get started in that. He gave me a few pointers, kind of led me in the right direction, and then I kind of just took it from there and made it my own. A lot of trial and error.
Hmm.
Buying a lot of materials, getting things going, and just making a lot of smaller gifts and things for our home and that. It led into doing some bigger projects. An entryway for a gentleman who built a custom home. That was pretty interesting. Building some one of a kind piece for somebody like that just wanted something that nobody else could have. Um, Built quite a few of the Tiffany style lampshades. A lot of that stuff is really interesting. It's nice. I was talking about it today actually. Um, and hopefully Ben is starting to pick up why that glass shop is kind of important. We get down in the basement and we were turning some music on that a lot of people probably wouldn't listen to, but
Yeah.
you kind of you're shutting off everything else but focusing on just that one thing, and
Hmm.
it gives you a chance to not worry about this or that or work or whatever's going on, and to just focus on something that is just for you.
Hmm.
um, is nice. Whether it's a gift you're making for somebody else or not, you're still focused on it, and it's like it's
Hmm.
your time. It's like, when I'm, or even when Ben and I are in the shop together, the only reason there's a clock in there is so that I can make sure I get to bed in enough time to get up for work the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know,
Well,
Ben and I were playing darts in there, and then we'd work
yeah.
on our stuff a little more or whatever. Having a beer, listening to Louis Prima or
Yeah.
Bing Crosby or whatever, and
Nice.
just hanging out. I like I like to do it because they make really nice gifts. They're gifts that,
Hmm.
depending upon what you make, are something people will keep for a long, long time, and that's
Yeah.
kind of
I
important to me. So,
when I think we picked up that lampshade, somebody was maybe throwing it out or selling it for a really discounted price. Like, I made my lamp. So I'll give the listeners a backstory on this. So we have matching Bass. What's the brand of them?
it's a
Warren.
Tiffany style lamp that the Warden makes a
Warden. Yeah.
pattern for.
Okay.
Warden system.
So.
It's a largemouth bass. Austin, I made a pair of these,
Mhm.
and they were in our log home up in Adams County,
Yeah.
and Ben really liked that.
Yeah. So it started off as a gift, and things happen and it transformed. Whatever. That's a story for a different episode. Um, but I started this in like January of 2017, and obviously things happen, and
Well, first, let me interrupt.
okay.
When you're starting to learn a hobby or a craft such as that, um, in doing stained glass, the glass doesn't care. It'll break. It doesn't care if you're having a bad day, a good day, or whatever. You have to learn patience, okay? And this is not a hobby for someone who doesn't. So it was really good for me, who has no patience, to learn this, where you kind of have to learn. Most people start off with a little four-piece nightlight or a
I
little
did.
window catcher or something. No, Ben wants to do a 450 some odd piece Tiffany style lampshade for a gift for someone. I said, Ben, do you realize there's $500 worth of glass and solder in that you're going to give somebody else? Besides the man hours are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
Can only
okay, Ben,
imagine.
now you can take
No,
back.
no. I will preface by, I asked, like, hey, how long do you think it'll take? He's like, well, if you work really hard, like maybe 3 weeks or so. Yeah, right. We'll try 3 years. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
when
think I was still at Ripon, and then I think you were.
yep.
I didn't even go there by the time you started it.
Yeah, my lamp making process lasted your tenure at Ripon College.
Yeah,
So
darn near. You're right. I remember I would get like Snapchats and stuff of
yeah,
that. Like
yeah. I was like,
you're
oh,
down
this is
in your.
coming together.
Oh, I noticed. I'm like, wait a minute,
You
Ben.
get
That
into
looks the
Formula
same
and
as it
done with
was
that
a week
lamp?
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically the same price. No, fortunate. I mean, we had a ton of leftover glass, so I was able to get by with minimal purchase for glass because that's the most expensive part. But what I was kind of saying is, when people either give these things away after they're done with them or like sell them for a discounted price, you realize like how much time goes into
Yeah.
making that. And I think it's a form of art that's really, I mean, it's a staple in churches and that kind of architecture, but other than that, it's kind of dwindled. And I think um, being able to do something like that, like one, it's unique, and like you said, they make great gifts. Like I made a brewer nightlight. We've made other nightlights that are um, unique and give as gifts. I know we gave Larissa's sister and brother-in-law. Um, her brother-in-law really likes cows, so we have a barn nightlight lamp that or a nightlight that you made. It's just like things like that. It's just a thoughtful gift, and I think it's a valuable hobby. I
Yeah,
guess.
and when you guys were talking about like the spending time with each other, like the stuff that my dad and I do, the things that I will never forget. Like my dad and we love to go in the barn and like work on, like if we have a car we're working on, or like just recently he put together an '85 Kawasaki KLR. And I mean, unfortunately I've been at school the entire time, so I couldn't. It was like one of our first projects where I couldn't be there to like do it together and learn it together. But I won't tell you the amount of times I'd get texts about like, oh, I got this part in for it. Like, check this out, sends a picture of it. And it's just some of those things that, I mean, growing up, I don't want to say that I took advantage of that because I was grateful for every moment I get to spend with him and with my mom and stuff like that. But just those things, you never forget it. And when you can build something and you're proud of it and you have the ability to give it as a gift, not only does it add to the gift's value, but it adds value to your character, I feel like.
Mhm.
And uh, just building upon that, it feels better to give than to get, in my opinion. And
For
that's
sure.
kind of resonating to the first part of this. And so finding a hobby has that ability to kind of bring all that together
Mhm.
and also sort of revive a lost art. If I mean, not
Yeah.
lost, like I see plenty of stained glass, but I don't see a lot of like work being done with it. And kind of like with the lamp building process that I've witnessed Ben do for the past 3 years, I've kind of been a, adjusted to that. And like my grandma and my great grandma, they had stained glass lampshades. Like they had all this stuff in their houses. It was something that like I would remember, like, oh, that's the gumdrop shade. Like that's what I'd call it because it looked like
Yeah.
candy. I just something that I remember walking into my grandma's living room and I see the lamp on the side, and
Yeah.
it's something
Sure.
that I remember. And you take those things for granted because you're like, oh, somebody just made it. But like, I mean, I've witnessed firsthand the process. It's taken Ben 3 years to make something like that. And I'm not just saying any shade because there's no way I'd be
Oh,
able to do it in any quicker
was
time
that a
either.
was that a pun with the
It
shade
was
there?
it was a shade pun. Michael Barnes, if you're listening, you'd enjoy that one. But yeah, it's incredible. I
Yeah.
can relate to it in many ways, but I mean, I'm not a very artistic
Yeah.
individual, so I'd
Well,
struggle
but
with it.
luckily enough with glass, Austin, you don't have to be artistic. A
Okay.
lot of it is
You
following
can.
patterns or things like that. You can be artistic in the way that you assemble it,
Mhm.
or Ben knows some of the things we do to strengthen the lamp and that to kind of make it ours. We kind of have our own signature and what our shop puts out. But not to say that I'm unhappy that things happened the way they did, why Ben ended up keeping that lampshade for himself. But I'm very glad that it did because of the fact that Ben realized how much work was put into it, how much
Mhm.
is there, and
Mhm.
you know, not that that person wasn't a great friend to you, but considering how much time and effort and energy you
Oh
put into
yeah.
that, it would have
That's.
to be a great friend for you to
I was
give
nuts for
a
thinking
family
that.
heirloom type thing to them. You
Mhm.
know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like
Yeah.
that's something that if you gave that as a gift, they would have to cherish that forever because of not only the monetary value of it, but the value of how much time somebody put in, and effort
Exactly.
into
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
More of a labor of love kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to, it's a little further back in the conversation, but what you said, it's a way to shut everything off. And, tying into what Austin said too, you get that moment. And there's things for me growing up that I specifically remember going to the Brewer games. and taking our back way out so we can get home quicker so I could go to
Yeah.
bed. So I would be, asleep for school the next morning or whatever,
Mhm.
because we lived really close. It only ended up being like 10 minutes, but like in the glass shop, it's about, listening to music together, spending time together, but also shutting off, being able to, like, for you, especially, like you said, with the clock, you don't even look at it. It's just, you look
Yeah.
at it like, oh, geez, it's already, 11 o'clock. Like, I got to go,
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
be up at 5 and leave. But, finding, I think everybody, that's a really valuable piece, is everybody finds something that they are good at, they enjoy doing, whether it's a sport, whether it's puzzles or reading a book or whatever, being able to shut
Yep.
off the distractions of life. And like you said, it's your thing. Like, even if it's a gift, it's still your project and you're in
Right.
control of it. Like you
Exactly.
said, the glass is going to break, things are going to happen, but it's like your own little mini world almost, where
Yeah.
you control it. You make the decision for what color glass I did. Like, I didn't do the same color glass that you
Nope.
did intentionally, but like, you pick this.
Right.
I've designed lampshades where it's like I get my creative side into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to find hobbies like that.